What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I have been playing more of Need for Speed Carbon lately, and I think it's actually made me realize something. I don't know if it's going to be maybe me just playing older games more than probably playing the new ones because I'm having a lot more fun on them, or maybe it's just like the feeling Need for Speed Carbon has of the overall just pure fun gameplay over something that we normally see in most games, which we all do know is probably going to be the graphics standpoint. Y'all been noticing how a lot of games are going to look absolutely beautiful, right? But when you're looking at it, you're going to go, okay, well, the game does look beautiful, but what about the fun gameplay? Where's that going to be? So when I did end up going back in and played Carbon more often, it really made me go, yo, this game is so dang entertaining. This is what I really do miss. And going back in, playing Carbon, playing Need for Speed Shift, playing something like Need for Speed Pro Street and stuff like that, Midnight Club Los Angeles, they all really do have legit the same thing, man. They're all so dang entertaining to play. I feel like if you jump in, you're probably going to have a great time in it. Like, yeah, sure, you could probably notice that maybe the graphics aren't going to be the best or something like that. You're probably going to see little things here and there. Maybe it's going to be a bit pixelated somewhere. Maybe it isn't perfect. But for me, though, playing some of these old games really does actually make you hit the main part of the game just being really fun. When I was playing through Carbon, I do know people were saying again that the game was going to be shorter. It had flaws here and there, but I was having so much fun with the initial gameplay of it, pretty much racing, going around the entire map, vibing with it, racing the different cars and stuff like that. I am legit having a wonderful time on it, and I'm not even focused on the graphics. Keep in mind, this game is also going to be from 2006, Pro Streets from '07. We're also then going to have Midnight Club Los Angeles from 2008. And even though these games are going to be 16, 17 years, even approaching 19 years old, they are still going to be so dang entertaining, and the overall gameplay of it really seems to just be so much better than new games. I don't know if it's going to be the passion thing, maybe it's going to be the entire gaming industry. Honestly, I really have no clue. But I feel like a lot of the games really need to go back to what these games were, pretty much having the overall fun factor being the biggest thing. I do understand they're probably focusing on graphics. We all do know every single new game looks absolutely insane. If they were to release something like Carbon with graphics like that nowadays, people would most likely freak out. I mean, heck, look at Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, for example. Like, the game doesn't look terrible in any way, but a lot of people are saying it looks like from a PS3 or something. Now, I would say if the graphics aren't going to be all that great, but the overall gameplay is going to be pure fun, similar to something like Carbon or Midnight Club Los Angeles, honestly, I would totally take it. I've been having more fun playing Carbon and going back on Midnight Club using different cars, SUVs, jumping onto motorcycles, racing through the town and stuff. Then going back onto Carbon, trying to modify my vehicles, jumping into different races, trying out cars and stuff like that, getting into police chasing. And I really do love the overall vibe of the map. And it's so weird. Like, I didn't really get hit by this until I started playing Carbon more. I feel like this game kind of triggered this in me a bit because I did want to talk about it. I would say Pro Street kind of did a little bit, but going back into Carbon, guys, this was a game I never got to play. So going back in, playing it and stuff, I'm like, yo, this is really what gaming is about. Like, you're supposed to have a fun time. The overall experience is supposed to be there. You can kind of see the passion behind the games. Now, again, I do know Carbon was going to be rushed. Who knows what this game probably could have been if it wasn't going to be rushed. We all do know it was basically on the same design or whatever that Most Wanted '05 was, and we all do know that game was going to be absolutely goated. So I was like, all right, well, let me go try Carbon. And funny part is, guys, again, I did mention this in the other video, I've never actually beat Most Wanted '05. Bear with me on that one. I'm going to find a copy on PS2 and play through it. I might even make some videos about that as well because I've never even pretty much played through '05. I think I might have got maybe 10% through it, and then something happened where my entire save file got corrupted. And I was like, oh man. So back then I was obviously going to be younger, didn't really feel like playing it again. I did end up playing other stuff like MCLA, the Dirt series and stuff like that. But I do kind of want to go back in and try '05 because I feel like there's reasons why everybody still talks about these games even to this day. I feel like a lot of games nowadays, when I really am looking at it, now some of this can be like Motorfest or even pretty much any of the newer racing games, guys. I think we can all agree on one thing. I feel like a lot of players are also going to agree on this. I feel like a lot of the racing games are kind of cooked, man. Am I right? I mean, we all do know they're coming out. They're probably going to pretty much be, all right, well, here's the game right here. Then they're then going to probably spend the next year or two trying to update it to get it what it should have been. when it did end up coming out, I mean, Motorfest could probably be in that timeline a bit. We all do know the game kind of seems a bit rushed. I feel like people would agree with that. We all do know it is going to be after the Crew 2, but the amount of content and stuff, the updates, and pretty much the entire game kind of feels like a downgrade, especially with content compared to the Crew 2. Even though that game got years of updates, we all do know Motorfest was going to be quote-unquote new. It still, to me, feels like they kind of left a lot of things out. They could have had a lot more things in it, but the game was going to be rushed, and they do end up working on it for a couple of years, getting it to where it really should be. This is also going to be something we can all agree with again on probably something like Test Drive, to where that game obviously should have came out 2 years later, not when it did. Then it most likely would have been a lot more finished. Like, games are coming out rushed more. It almost feels like the games don't have a ton of passion, like they're trying to push them out, make money or something, like the stockholders want to make money on them, or the shareholders. They get the games pushed out, and then they pretty much don't make a lot of money because the game is broken. Who would have thought on that one? Am I right? But then I go back into something like Need for Speed Carbon, for example, and go, okay, well, yeah, the graphics might not look all that great. You can definitely tell a lot of passion went into making these games back then. They really wanted people to enjoy them. Again, guys, I know people are going to be like, well, Block, don't forget that Carbon was rushed and stuff. We all do know there was a Need for Speed game every single year, so corners are going to have to be cut somewhere, with EA probably making them push games out like that, which we all do know nowadays going to be like COD and stuff. They try to get games pushed out every year to keep things fresh, even though they're basically just reusing the same assets and then making it into a new game, like Modern Warfare 2019 to Modern Warfare 2 to 3. Pretty much every game was going to be the same, and then even looking at that, the first game was somehow better than the other two. Welcome to argue with me on that one in the comments if you want, but I enjoyed 2019 despite the amount of flaws it had over Modern Warfare 2 and 3. Now, if we go back, this can also be said about Need for Speed. If a lot of players went back and played something like 05, even Underground 2, which I am going to play that one, never played it, we go into Pro Street, maybe even Undercover, Shift, Hot Pursuit. Then we're going to look at something like 2015. You then see something like Payback, which kind of went forward from 2015, then also backwards in a lot of different areas. And then we're going to look at something like maybe Need for Speed Heat, which did a lot of things great. For some odd reason, EA came in and went, nope. And then they pretty much brought out Unbound a few years later. Now Unbound's going to be cut off, and we're probably going to have a few years now with no Need for Speed game at all. And with that being said, kind of on a similar topic, when I was at the game store searching for a few different games for the PS2 and the PS3, I was talking to the guy that worked there, and I was like, don't you kind of think they might be focusing on the wrong things on the newer games that are coming out? He legit went, yeah, they really are. It's kind of insane because we all do know, going back to old games, guys, which we do know a lot of players currently are, people are going back to PS3 games, PS2. I had one of the comments in a video going, yeah, all the golden age of gaming was kind of like 2000 to 2010-ish, maybe a little bit past that. A lot of the games back then came out, they had a lot of passion. At least it did feel that way anyway. The overall gameplay was so dang addicting, and it really does make me want to go back and play the game more, probably go through the entire game again, play through it and stuff like that. And I do know you could probably argue part of this might be along the lines of maybe it's going to be a nostalgic factor, to where, you know, back then you were going to be younger and stuff, maybe gaming hit different. When you get older, maybe it doesn't hit the same. That all kind of does make sense, and I can see where people are coming from on that stuff. But even getting older, though, playing some of these older games, guys, it's weird because I'm still having a great time playing them. I feel like the overall gameplay is so dang entertaining back then, and I kind of look at the new games and go, yo, I'm playing Need for Speed Carbon, which came out around almost 19 years ago on the PS3, and I've been having more fun playing this game than I have pretty much on Motorfest in legit months. I do understand that they're going to be having updates and things here and there on the game, guys, but legit, Motorfest is so dang stale that I have barely even played it. And I've been going back playing PS3 games. I've been having way more fun on these than the newer games. I haven't really played Test Drive and all those games either. I'm kind of waiting for Forza and stuff, which does make a lot of sense. I really am excited to play that because it is going to offer things that no other racing game does at the moment. So at least that's going to be a really nice change. But going back, though, seeing the overall gameplay aspect over graphics, I am really curious to know what y'all think. Now, I can easily keep rambling on about this stuff because it does kind of frustrate me a bit, seeing like the direction of gaming and seeing like how games are nowadays and stuff, and you can tell people aren't happy with them. And a lot of people are going back. They love the old Need for Speed games. Like, for example, guys, if they were going to make a new Need for Speed, this can go for honestly any genre. Go back and look what made the old games so great, what did players love about them, and then build a new game based on what people loved about the old ones. I mean, am I right? If we look at something like Carbon, Most Wanted '05, Underground, even something like Need for Speed Pro Street, Need for Speed Shift, things like that, like you can definitely go back and see what made those games so dang popular. People did like them. I am going to know that some of the games didn't do all that great, like Need for Speed The Run was also something I never got to play. I'm excited to. I did end up finding a copy for that game as well, so I never got to play through the campaign. I do know a lot of people like the game, people didn't, stuff like that. We all do know every game is probably going to have dislikes and all that, or likes and stuff. And we're also going to know that when looking at some of these games, you can go back in and go, okay, well, I don't like this design, or why do you guys change that, make it like this compared to like the previous game? One of the examples I can give on that is probably going to be Need for Speed. I guess you could say Heat versus Unbound. It's probably a good way, kind of like two recent Need for Speed games, a good way to compare it. But if you are looking at those, though, you're probably going to be like, okay, well, if we're looking at this game right now, we're going to be like, all right, well, what can we add into the new game that players are looking for, okay? They're going to look at that and go, oh, well, let's see. We're going to have police in the game again. Let's have the 5 heat levels and whatever. Then they're also going to be like, well, let's separate the multiplayer, single player. That way the money doesn't count. Then they're also going to make the single player very hard to make money on something like that, where players want to go and farm money, but it's going to take legitimately forever because it's basically based on RNG. That was going to be a big complaint and probably the biggest thing players didn't like about Carbon. Also something like Pro Street, where if you did go in, all the money would drop on events, or it'd be really hard to make money after you beat it. In ways, Unbound is kind of going to be similar to that when it was designed, because it was so RNG based. You can make 50 grand one day, then 250 the next, and then back to 60 or something. It wasn't any better back then. Like, you would think going back into that, they might go, okay, well, let's design this around how Heat was or something, at least in the new game. This can also be said for the crew and stuff like that. Like, you can see the downgrade or different things going backwards compared to the design that everybody did end up loving. Honestly, I really don't understand how newer games come out and somehow they're going to be worse than their predecessors. Another good way to put this is, let's look at something like Supercross 25. It is going to have some positives to it, 100%, but it is also going to have some negatives to it, because apparently the first and second game were better than the newest one. Kind of similar to how like everybody wants MX vs ATV Reflex or something like that to come back. And that game, even to this day, from what I have been noticing, is people are still talking about it, going, okay, well, how does this compare to this game? Or why is this game still going to be better with it coming out 15 plus years ago? Like, some of it really does not make that much sense. I do understand technology is going to evolve and all that, and like, you know, evolving with everything where it comes to like gameplay, graphics, all that stuff. But I also feel like with that, I really do think they might end up going backwards in so many different aspects, when all they probably have to do is go back and look at the old games like Carbon, Most Wanted, a lot of these old racing games, or even games in general, see what people loved about them, and then most likely aim at implementing that into the new ones. I'm going to say this right now, guys, graphics are not everything. Personally, I'd rather have really fun gameplay. Maybe less graphics in there, I do not mind it, but the overall gameplay is the biggest thing I feel like most people look for, which is probably also why I'm enjoying Need for Speed Carbon more than the Crew Motorfest at the moment. Do let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. I am really curious. Do you guys also agree that the newer games might be focusing on the wrong things? Hopefully this might end up turning around with some of the newer games, but at this rate, I really don't know if they're going to be able to capture what the old games had, because I feel like some of that might be nostalgia again, you know, getting older and stuff like that. But then again, for me going back into these games, I think it's part of that, but also it isn't. And the reason for that is I've been having way more fun playing Need for Speed Carbon, even going back into Dirt 2. I absolutely love that game. I tried out Dirt 4, Dirt 5. Those games did not capture what Dirt 2 did. Even to this day, Dirt 2 is better than 4 and 5 by legit. It's not even close, bro. Isn't that crazy to think about? But again, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. I'm really curious. I feel like a lot of players are not only going back to older games because they are better in ways, but also a lot of the newer games are honestly just kind of cooked at this point.